So for this story, I'm going to have to tell you about the time that I got pounced on by an entire camera crew and ended up on an advert for crisps here in the UK. I wonder if you can spot me. A clue, I'm wide-eyed in Worcester.
We have an unexpected holiday in the bagging area. You picked up a winning bag of Walker's Crisps. Have won yourself a holiday! Congratulations!
Thank you, cheers.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that memory. So what on earth have you just watched? That actually was a real advert here on British TV. Tesco, our big supermarket, teamed up in 2016 with Walker's Crisps. You could find a holiday inside a bag of Walker's Crisps, and then they decided to go to a few stores randomly around the UK and to find somebody buying Walker's Crisps and to give them a holiday. As you can see, I was in the right place at the right time. I was exhausted after the school run. I was grabbing a food shop. As I paid for my shopping, little did I know that I was surrounded by actors who'd been following me around the store. They all set off confetti cannons and started cheering. A film crew came running through the store with a man with a microphone dressed as a pilot. There was a woman in a bikini. There was a guy in trunks with a surfboard, and they pounced on me, shocked at the till, and told me that I had won a holiday for 4 in Cyprus. Now, why am I telling you this? What on earth has this got to do with tarot? Well, I was tidying my decks the other day and I was dusting off boxes, and I looked at this box and I saw on the back of the Healing Waves Tarot, and actually inside the box, there is this glorious clear water. And the only time I've ever seen water this blue and this clear was on that holiday in Cyprus. And I sat and I flicked through these cards and I was just overwhelmed with gratitude for that memory. What a thing to happen. I was smack bang in the middle of my divorce. I'd lost my entire life savings by 2 years in. I'd lost any financial security. Financially, my life was just destroyed. There was no chance of the kids ever getting a holiday. They've only been abroad once, which was this holiday. And to win a holiday for 4 in the midst of that trauma, I really thought that the universe had stepped in and said, God, you're getting a rough trot at the minute. Let's do something lovely for you. So I sat with this deck and I kind of reminisced, and as I thought about the clear waters, I thought about other memories on that trip, and there were just so many moments of gratitude within the most fantastic, amazing experience. So lots of little bits of gratitude, lots of bigger bits of gratitude, huge unbelievable gratitude for the win in the first place. And I was just really grateful for this deck for reminding me how important gratitude is. And I wanted to share the fact that tarot and tarot imagery and the decks that we own can give us reminders of different things that have happened to be grateful for. So I then thought about all the things that happened on that holiday, and for each thing that happened I tried to find a tarot deck. So it's a real excuse today to practice gratitude, to tell you a story, and to share decks, just to get decks down off the tarot shelves and to share them. So the first one is the Healing Waves Tarot, which I just absolutely adore. Look at it, it's beautiful. This water is Cyprus. We stayed in Pathos. We went swimming in water that looked like this. It was amazing. So this is the very first of my gratitude stories with tarot. So the next deck I want to share is Our Tarot by Sarah Shipman, a relatively new deck for me, which I haven't really used yet, but I bought it because it's all to do with women through history that have been amazing, like superhero women. It's also got a Frida Kahlo card in. So why does this one remind me of Cyprus? It's not a seaside deck at all. Well, getting to Cyprus as a single mom with, at the time, 3 quite small kids, one with extreme special needs, I had no idea whether I was going to be able to do it. I'd absolutely prompted the kids into not getting their hopes up until we were on the plane. I had no idea whether Tilly would get on the plane. Let's just say that it was tricky, and we held our security by, I would say, about 35 minutes. We brought security to a standstill while I attempted to get a very worried Tilly through security, and they were brilliant. The airport was really good. At one point it looked like we weren't going to get on the plane, and at this point I need to say how grateful I am to all of my kids for really taking in their stride the extraordinary circumstances that we all live in with Smith-Magenis syndrome along for the ride, because it isn't always an easy ride. And getting through security onto that plane, at no point was it more evident to me, the kids, all the staff there, and actually the entire airport within hearing distance, that things can get tricky in life for families with special needs in tow. But I am so grateful to how stoic my kids are, how brave Tilly is in the face of all the challenges she has. Against all the odds, she managed it in the end, and I am so grateful to an airport member of staff that absolutely stepped in and got Tilly's anxiety down enough for her to get through security. She went above and beyond for us, and it was incredible. And to be honest, by the time I got us there with all of this baggage, I felt like a cart horse getting us through. By the time I got us on the plane and we actually arrived at Cyprus, I felt like I belonged in this deck. It kind of opened a portal for me into feeling like a goddamn superhero. It did something huge for my confidence, that trip to Cyprus, just getting us there. Massive boost to my confidence, because I was so far out of my comfort zone. I hate travelling. I get travel anxiety. I am a terrified flyer, and yet I got us there. I booked the holiday, I made sure all the bookings are there, and I got us there. So when I look at this deck, I remember the time where I felt like a goddamn superhero, and I am so grateful for my kids, because without them being as fabulous as they are, we would never have got on that plane. So on the plane, Poppy took some amazing photographs on the plane. Look at this out the window. It felt like a portal to another world looking out that window, and that made me think about this deck and like portals to another world. Now this is the Gateway of Light Activation Oracle by Kyle Gray. I've been loving this deck. I've been pulling the odd card here or there through the month, and oh my gosh, it's been really fantastic. It's given some really brilliant, useful, life affirming and like shadow integrating messages for me. I've gone to this deck when I've really felt like I've really needed some support, and it's delivered. I've pulled 2 cards this week as well, gosh, and they've delivered so much so I was talking to a friend about it on FaceTime, saying, can you even believe this deck? So this feels like a portal of stepping onto an aeroplane and feeling like you've stepped into your superhero realm. It's also, look, it looks like an aeroplane window, and it reminds me of the pictures that Poppy took on the plane. And I'm so grateful for how good my kids were on the plane. It could have been horrendous. It could have been a non-stop meltdown, and yet it wasn't. They were a delight to travel with. constantly, eternally grateful for the kids. By the time we got to the hotel, it was night time. We were met by the clear blue lit up pool in the hotel complex, which we couldn't believe. The following morning, our socks were blown off by where we actually were, and the pools upon pools, and the restaurant by the pool, also how blue the pool was, blue the ocean. This kind of clear, fresh blue colour will forever remind me of Cyprus. And so when I look at this deck, mermaids and dolphins are magical creatures of the seas. This is a Gillian Kemp Seco Books deck. It really reminds me of that blue in Cyprus. Also we have Aphrodite here, and that reminds me of something else in Cyprus, but we will get to that in a little bit. So I love this deck. I don't even know whether you can get this deck anymore, but it's beautiful. But it's just how light and bright it is. It really does remind me of the colour palette of Cyprus waters. It felt like a place where you would see mermaids, not your run-of-the-mill British creatures, but something more magical. It really, really did feel like the place where you would possibly come across these things on a swim. Yeah, this is just a fantastic oracle. I love this oracle. I like Seco Books decks anyway, in particular, I really do. Yeah, so this deck is just to be grateful for those times when you're near water, where you're near the ocean, especially like warm oceans, that holiday feel on the beach. We went on lots of boat trips. I'm really grateful for that. One of the most incredible boat trips we went on was to a place called the Blue Lagoon, and on that boat, the boat stopped and everybody started jumping overboard to swim in this water, and I'd never jumped off a boat into the ocean before, and I really wanted to do it, but again Tilly didn't want me to jump in, and she literally lost her mind at the thought that I was going to jump in. After resigning myself to the fact that I wouldn't get to do it and I was just going to sit and enjoy the other two kids swimming in there, Tilly finally said to me, "Go on then, Mum, go and jump in." And she calmed herself down and allowed me to jump off the boat hand in hand with Poppy, and then to swim and touch the rocks on the other side with Busby. And she cheered me on from the boat, really happy that I got to do it. It was the most unexpected turnaround ever, and that memory of jumping off the boat is just one that I will I'll forever treasure. I'm so grateful for that, again because of the resilience and the bravery and the love of Tilly. Just so wonderful. The Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot has that same sort of warm light, looking out at the ocean feel to it. I think the colours in this also make me think of that holiday. A lot of the ceramics in Cyprus was very colourful, a bit like this deck has that feeling of jumping into the ocean and ocean days, of nights walking along the ocean and sunsets and boat trips and glass bottomed boats as well. And we spent a lot of time in water. We spent so much time in the incredible pools. Honestly, the pools were just amazing. I think Tilly spent most time ever underneath this strange fountain on the pool. In fact, we spent so much time at the pool that other families were beginning to send their kids over to us, and I actually ended up with quite a little crowd of kids every day coming to join us to play. We spent days and days and days in this pool, and it was just wonderful, including when the day was all over, me just relaxing, reading books. So look at this sun card. This kind of sums up the fun that we had at the pool. Me watching the kids play with all the different toys that they had out, playing under the fountains. Oh my gosh, it was just wonderful. This kind of sums up that poolside fun for me. Look at this chariot card. Yeah, it really does. It was just so magical. I loved that time by the pool. Yep, so the Mermaid Tarot reminds me to be grateful for that wonderful fun we had, and the laughter and the long days in water at that wonderful hotel pool. Now, another huge part of the holiday, in the hotel complex there were cats everywhere, and right outside our self-catering room there was a mum cat with loads of kittens, and the kids spent so much time with the kittens. I cannot think about Cyprus without thinking about cats, so I'm going to share my only cat deck I've got, which is the Cat Tarot, which is a Lo Scarabeo deck. This is mass market. It's so lovely, this deck, and it's got cats dressed up as famous characters from movies, well, just famous characters really, and I love it. It's just so fantastic. Look at this. So the kids were absolutely obsessed with the kittens. In fact, it was quite tough when we came to leave to say goodbye to all the kittens. They would spend hours and hours playing with them. So you can see some photos here. So I am really grateful for the fact that the hotel seemed to not be kicking them out. They all seem to be really tolerated within the complex. I'm grateful that we had a whole load of kittens right outside our door. The kids loved it. And I'm just grateful for how friendly they were as well. Aren't cats and dogs and pets just the best thing ever? I mean, with lurchers, there's no way I could have a cat at the moment, but I love cats as well as dogs. I used to have a cat called Harley, who I absolutely adored. So yeah, the gratitude for cats and kittens in a hotel complex right next to our door. That's the Cat Tarot. Another day we took a trip out to the Tombs of the Kings, which is just outside Pathos, and this was the most amazing place right by the ocean, of all like burial tombs that you could access. It was the hottest day ever. In fact, the shade of the tombs really was so welcome the day we went. When I think back to that memory, I'm so grateful for the history that's held in places, and I'm grateful for the memory of that day. It was a tough day because it was so hot, but to find the coolness of the tombs just when we needed it was incredible, and I love historic sites like that. Now, I've picked this deck, which is the Haindl Tarot, because it just has a kind of feel of the place. I think it's all the rocks and the earth, and you know, these figures that feel like things that you might find at a royal burial ground. It feels very much like a story that's entombed within buildings and rocks, whether that be Egyptian or not. So when I think about that day going round those amazing rock sculptures, it is this deck, look, that comes to my mind. That idea of climbing into a rock tomb. Definitely it brings to mind this deck. And these are the backs. Even the backs look like some ancient mystery. I love this Queen of Cups in this deck. I love it. I think that's my favourite card in the deck. Yeah, so this is the Haindl Tarot, reminding me of that day we spent in the Tombs of the Kings, kind of hiding from the heat of the sun, and we didn't even go in summertime. We flew out actually on my dad's birthday on September the 23rd, so we were out of season, and yet it was still so hot. It was almost unbearable. It also reminds me of castles on the shoreline as well, because we did visit the castle in Pathos, and it was incredible because on the fortnight that we visited while we were there was actually an art trail of almost like goddess sculptures along the coastline from the castle. So the castle itself kind of reminds me of this deck, but I've got another deck that reminds me of the artwork, and I'll put in pictures of the art trail and the goddess sculptures that were there when we visited here. And the deck that reminds me of the artwork and the creativity in that amazing art trail is this one. This is the Creativity Oracle, and it's got like all of the shiny bits on it, which reminds me of the mosaic. On the back there's advice to do with creativity, but look at the detail and the colours and the decoration of these cards. Now this deck is made up of textile art, but it just reminds me of some of those sculptures that we found. It was just such a lovely bonus thing to find on an already beautiful coastline with a castle. So I'm grateful for that day. I'm grateful for seeing art. I love seeing art wherever I go. I think art out in nature or art trails that gets everybody interested, even if you wouldn't normally go to an art exhibition or an art gallery. To find an art trail is just lovely, and I know here in the UK they do loads of art trails all over the country. My kids love going to them as well. Their schools have taken part in them. I once did an art exhibition that was an art trail as well, which I loved doing. So I think creativity out in the wild, and that day by the coast near the castle looking at the goddess sculptures, it reminds me of this sort of deck. So this is the Creativity Oracle. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Anywhere really where you can see art, you can often see art on things that we use in the everyday. So I'm really grateful for design, I think I'm saying. Now in Pathos, the place itself was like a stark blue clear sea and white buildings, very, very limited colour palette. However, all of the ceramics and the plates and the cups out there were all highly multicoloured. Look, you can see I was so fascinated by it. I took loads of photographs in shops of the patterns. I just loved it. It was just so fantastic to see, and I love to see that. I love collecting plates in local charity shops that are all multi-patterned and multicoloured. So the deck that looking at these patterns again made me think of is this one, the Journey to Enlightenment Tarot, because if any deck kind of sums up the pattern of the ceramics in Cyprus, it's this deck. And I've struggled with this deck because it is so highly patterned and highly colourful. But do you know what? I think linking this deck to the ceramics of Cyprus is going to be my doorway into this deck. And I've just realised, you know, I was saying about the colour palette being blue and white in Cyprus generally, and yet there's multicoloured ceramics. Oh my gosh, look at that! Blue and white backs. I never thought the backs were right for this deck until I've just thought of that. That's perfect now. So I'm grateful for colour in design. I'm grateful for decoration. I love decoration, and the fact that you can pick decoration up as splashes of wildness, even if you like a more bland colour palette. I think Cyprus ceramics just really was just a joy for that pattern, decoration. I mean, look at this, the Two of Wands. It's just so patterned. Oh my gosh, this is going to be my Cyprus ceramic deck from now on. This is honestly, it's opened this deck up for me so much. So that's the Journey to Enlightenment Tarot. Also, it also reminds me again of the artwork on that art trail along the coast as well. Oh, and oh boy, we had some amazing meals down in Pathos Town Centre by the ocean, looking out onto this colour palette but eating off this colour palette. Some beautiful restaurants, some amazing wonderful memories again, which I'm just so grateful for. Then one day we took a trip out to just outside Pathos to the Rock of Aphrodite, which is an outcrop of rocks just outside of Pathos. The legend is that it's where Aphrodite was born from the foam, and then she was transported to this very beach on a seashell. And of course I am going to go with Thea's Hellenic Oracle, which, oh my gosh, am I loving this deck or what? I am just loving it. I can see I've got cards out in front of me as we speak. I've gone for this deck because look, it's got this card in. It's got an Aphrodite card in here. So the beach that we visited is supposed to be the very beach where she was birthed from the foam of the waves. It was quite rough, the waters there for swimming, but you swim out and around the rock. Me and Busby did go swimming in there, and it was just incredible. The superstition is you swim out around the rock and then you go and tie a ribbon on a bush by the passageway onto the beach to either make the love that you've got at the time last forever, or if you're single, to find love. And there were ribbons all over the bushes on the beach. To access the beach, it was a really strange tunnel that went under the road, so it was really tight and enclosed, really dark, and then all of a sudden you see this amazing light at the end of the tunnel, and you step out near all the ribbon bushes onto this amazing beach. It was such a nice experience. So this deck, the Hellenic Oracle, really reminds me of that day, but I'm pairing this at the moment with the Rose Alchemy Oracle. These two decks together are just singing. They're a bonded pair for certain, and of course this reminds me of love and the goddess of love and Aphrodite as well, because it's roses. And these two decks together, I can't even describe what they're like together. It is just so stunning, and the messages I'm getting from them are also equally stunning. So this deck is just all roses. It's definitely a bonded pair for me, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just a pair of decks that just works wonderful. It makes me not only grateful for that day on the beach swimming with the kids, being grateful for finding a rock that gave shade for Tilly to set her up with a picnic, because she didn't want to come in the water. It just wonderful, like the sound of the waves on small pebbles. Was that type of beach where you've got that shh, shh, shh noise, a little bit like the sound of this deck actually. All of those things, all of the sunshine and the sounds of the waves and the foam, and lovely myths to study as well. Gosh, when you start opening the doorway to gratitude, you just can never stop, can you? So really grateful for these two decks as well. I'm grateful for Thea as well, and my friends in TarotTube. Thea sent me this deck as a thank you for doing Garden Arcana with her. I also sent her this deck for a thank you as well. So it's just amazing, and just the real coincidence that they've ended up as bonded pairs, and I love it. So the final deck I want to share is the Botticelli Tarot, because look, it's literally got Aphrodite on the front of the box, so how could I not share this? So on the last but one day before we flew home after a fortnight in Cyprus, I was sat by the pool reading. In fact, I took a photograph with my phone of me reading. About 5 seconds after I took that photo, my phone blew up with people messaging and texting. It would seem that the airline that I flew out on, Monarch Airlines, had gone bust, and they'd recalled and cancelled all flights. So I was sat by a pool in Cyprus with all 3 kids, beginning to feel the nerves of thinking I've got to try and get us all home again and make it work. I've got to put my superhuman cape back on, only to find out that the airline had gone bust. I had no idea what to do. I had friends going, "You didn't fly out on Monarch, did you?" Only for me to say yes I did. So we were absolutely treated so fantastically. The UK government had to put on extra flights and get other airlines involved to fly out and to return home all the UK citizens that were abroad and stuck, me and the kids being 4 of them. So we got a slightly later flight given to us, completely free, and we had an amazing flight home. Actually, when we landed, it was pouring with rain in Britain, and it was such a sad sight because all the Monarch airplanes through the wet window were all lined up, all decommissioned. So it was back to Britain and on a different airline. So it started amazingly and it ended amazingly as well. So the Botticelli Tarot, it kind of it feels a bit more green and foresty, so it feels a bit more like returning home rather than the bright colours and the stark white and blue of Cyprus. This deck feels way more green, way more like returning home, but with the memory of our amazing time out there. So that was something to be grateful for, getting home without having to pay for flights. So it was just amazing. So guys, that's it. That is my first gratitude story with tarot. The one where I won a holiday, the one where I ended up in a TV advert. It's the one where I'm reminded about the resilience and the bravery of my kids. It's the gratitude story where I'm reminded how wonderful colour and design is in our lives. It's the one where I have memories of visiting incredible sites full of history. I think delving into history, whether it be abroad or locally, is just the most amazing thing to do, and a lot of it is completely free to do. It reminds me of how we all love animals and just how grateful I am for animals in our lives. Also of hope and portals, literally winning this holiday in the midst of a divorce, wiping all of my finances away, just is like a portal. You never know from one day to the next what portal is going to open to transport you somewhere totally different. You never know. Never give up hope, even when you're in the middle of crisis. And like the ocean and the sounds of water and the colour blue, oh my gosh, so many things to be grateful for, guys. I hope you enjoyed the first of my gratitude stories with tarot. I hope it's inspired you to look at your tarot decks and see what gratitude it reminds you to have, or what memories it brings up. I think gratitude practice is just the most wonderful thing to do. So thanks guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.